Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're looking at DuckTales Remastered. So, I just came off a rage quit for playing Shovel Knight, which I feel like was pretty heavily influenced by the original DuckTales game, being a modern game that added an 8-bit NES style look, and many gameplay elements that I think we'll see similar in DuckTales. I think this is going to be a good comparison to that game in the sense that DuckTales Remastered has a easy difficulty all the way up to an extremely difficult difficulty. It also has more abilities than what you're gonna have. So, like, Shovel Knight would have been way better if it had started just with this screen. Give me a difficulty mode. More than changing the genders of the characters and the text style and lines of dialogue. Like, that's a cool feature and all, but it doesn't solve the problem that Shovel Knight had where Shovel Knight didn't even talk.
Quick, Duckworth, get the limo.
I shall get her in gear, sir.
So, immediately you get voice acting here. Of course, this is Disney, so you can have an animation cutscene here and pay some voice actors. Probably the voice actors from the original cartoon.
Not the Beagle Boys again. If they think they can stand between Scrooge McDuck and his 3 cubic acres of cash, they've got another thing coming.
So, I remember watching this game, to say the least, but I didn't watch a lot of it. So like Shovel Knight, if you hit X, you bounce on your cane, which allows you to get more height than just jumping in general. There's also, I believe, a different way in which you're going to be able to swing your cane at some point. There's an odd scale here, all these doors are huge. Now, what I want to look here is to see if there's anything that would let me switch back to the old animation style. I think the answer to that is probably no. So, I may own the old DuckTales game, but I don't think I'd particularly double play this game. And in all fairness, there is a good chance that I still will rage quit on this, because we could hit a level where these levels can be as difficult as anything else that I ran into in
Huey,
in Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight seemed to love to give you, even in the first tutorial level, they seem to give you difficult screen, then another difficult screen, then another difficult screen, and then
don't worry, lad, I'll save you.
Then at the end you have to fight a very, very difficult boss, and if you couldn't defeat the boss, there was really no way to move forward in the game. So it was pretty obvious it was going to be frustration point. So here we're tutorializing to break the bricks. We have an interesting flat animation that's going on here. But if you look at their shadows, they have like a round shadow. So almost certainly these are 3D models that have been designed to look like flat cartoon characters. And almost certainly if you compared the animation here to the cartoon, it wouldn't stand up in quality. It's weird that gems are just appearing. You would kind of think I wouldn't just be able to find gems in the air. That is probably a remnant of the original game, and so as much as this is a visual remaster and an audio remaster, I imagine the I imagine you're going to run into a scenario where a lot of this still does not feel like a modern game, and there still has some trouble. So, if you're not familiar with the story, Uncle Scrooge is from DuckTales, is the uncle of Huey, Dewey, and Louie. The new cartoon introduced a new female nephews. I guess that's fair, because let's be honest, it was based on an old comic book aimed at boys, so there really weren't any female characters at all. And we'll just say it was a sign of the times that the idea of Donald Duck, I think, basically abandoning his children on Uncle Scrooge is odd. Walk up to an item and press X to swing your cane. So you can swing your cane, but only when you're next to an item. You can't hit a wall, or you can, but you're gonna hurt yourself. The enemies respawn, which is a little interesting. So a game like this, you would probably have to go in every corner and just look for everything, and probably need a walkthrough to show you where all the hidden gems are.
Hey kid, you got a sandwich or something?
But yeah,
Let me go, you
Huey, Dewey, and Louie, as far as characters, are not
Get away
particularly
from him, you gluttonous goon.
uniquely different
Sorry, Scroogey.
people.
Not a chance.
They're kind of like triplets. Only thing I can really say is that
Stop it.
they're in the Duck Scouts, which is like the Boy Scouts, and that's pretty much it.
saved me, Uncle Scrooge.
I did. Are you hurt, lad?
Now I'm fine. But
So
Uncle
yeah, Uncle Scrooge,
Scrooge with about 1,000
as I
people
understand,
right behind him.
he got his
Here.
initial
I'll handle
lucky
this.
penny or lucky dime and found that, and then that somewhat magically allowed him to collect as much money as possible, and his money then he didn't use the cane to swing at send round rocks flying. Walk up to an item and press X. Interesting. That gave him enough money to go on adventures looking for more treasure, and that's his only really motivator. In a weird way, it is kind of this odd, just highlighting or promotion of greed is good as a mentality, something that is definitely from the 80s. Modern sentimentality would go, well, why does Uncle Scrooge always keep all the money, and why does he not donate to any charities or do anything like that? I imagine the newer cartoon would try to address that, or did try to address that. I imagine there's a decent chance the newer cartoon has already been canceled. It's a weird series in particular because you're addressing. I think I'm gonna also turn down the audio. This audio is particularly loud. Let's see. Well, I can't really even do it. Interesting. There's like no audio options. Let's look at the map.
Point in hanging around here.
Get little bits of lines of dialogue while he's playing. Alright, well,
Onward and up.
and we'll just.
Would you look at the size of this diamond?
Alright, let's see. Yeah, the map has like 3 checkpoints where we're getting the kids, but that's not it. Alright, so I'm gonna turn down the audio and adjust it using a software I have that lets me roll the mouse. Let's see. There we go. If I click the mouse on the screen and then hold down Alt and put the mouse wheel down, we will be able to adjust it there. That's a little too quiet maybe, but good for my purposes. All of the soundtrack very potentially Content ID claimed. Yeah, Mrs. Bigley. Okay, so she was like the maid. Here's an interesting question. Do you go down or not? Because what happens there?
Up I go.
Alright. We needed to know if there were secrets, and we now know there aren't secrets. So don't fall down those kinds of places. Oops. And I don't think there's a way to pull, so I knocked myself out. So I probably didn't need to kill myself, actually, because it does seem like everything resets if you just walk off screen. So I've got over 500,000, and now I'm like, so I went into like some kind of supersonic mode. Alright, so if I just go a little bit this way. Alright, so jump back this direction. That should be far enough. Yep. There we go. So none of this feels difficult. If you die, you just kind of reset at predetermined checkpoints. You seem like you're perfectly fine. There might have been some gems all throughout this, but I don't think so.
Hurry up, Scrooge! They're headed for your office!
Hold on, lad. I'll have you free in a jiffy.
Not so fast, McDuck. We're running things around here now.
They have an interesting move here
One false move and I'm a roast duck.
where they introduced the main bad guys as just wearing ID plates and
You'll never beat us.
right. Well, that wasn't
I get the gold. I'm gonna
necessary,
buy
but we'll
Mom
do
a
that.
new hat.
So
What do you
it just does damage to you. Another fine system there where if you screw up, you just take a little bit of damage, an insignificant amount of damage. So yeah, there is kind of a cast of bad guys from the comic book series, but the Beagle Boys tend to be your main default bad guys. As I think the cartoon took him on more adventures. A lot of this is straight up just making a Disney or version of something like Dick Tracy. But that's where you kind of have a weird point. Oops. The controls maybe not as responsive as I'd like them to be. And you can't swing your stick on them. So you can't really attack from the side at all. The main gameplay mechanic here is jumping on the pogo stick.
Step away from me, fortune.
It's weird, though. It would be really weird to get a 6-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old even now to play this game, particularly if they hadn't seen the main cartoon, or the new cartoon or the old cartoon.
Is securely suspended, son.
Alright.
You be careful or you'll scump the floor.
Alright, so here we have a boss fight
There you are, son.
that is all about knocking his helmet off, which they made a big deal in the cutscene to show the helmet. And we're not doing a Mario 3 attack thing, but maybe 4 attacks. Nope. 5 attacks. But even with that, playing pretty awfully there on easy, that was totally doable. We didn't die several times in this first level.
Why in the world was he interested in this old painting? Surely there are more valuable. Well, pluck me pin feathers. It looks like.
Of course, the original
secret
DuckTales
code.
game
Voice.
would not have had voice acting and would not have been programmed in something that looks like Unity now. Getting a 2D or 2.5D game game to look good in Unity or Unreal is sometimes more difficult than making a 3D game look realistic.
What is it, Uncle Scrooge?
It's a treasure map, lads. And no ordinary treasure by the look of things.
I don't think kids would particularly recognize Brigadoon.
Ordinary. Look, one of the treasures is in the middle of the Amazon. And there's another one in Transylvania. And one buried 10 miles underground.
So they're setting you up for many different levels and many different areas. And probably not too many.
Yeah, there's no mountain on Earth that's that high. Well, according to the Junior Woodchuck's guidebook, to get there we have to take about
Junior Woodchucks, that's what they are.
537 million steps straight up till we reach the moon. You mean the moon?
It looks that way, lads. Well, what are we waiting for?
So, yeah.
Treasure's not going to
This
discover
is
it.
pretty much exactly like the cartoon. It's like, we're going to go to different places. It probably ruined the budget, frankly, for the cartoon, that they were going to go in so many different places and have so much different background animation they'd have to do. That doesn't really work. The Carmen Sandiego cartoons probably run into the same issue. And I imagine the original DuckTales game didn't have a level selector here, but yeah, this looks good. So the question would be, obviously all the levels that we go through are going to be a lot longer than this little tutorial level. So have we done enough setup here, or is this... See, I'm not seeing any statistics at all. And I did not hit the start timer button, so I don't know how long I've been going. So I guess what we'll leave it here is like, yeah, compared to Shovel Knight, and this will probably be the end of Shovel Knight's comparison, and we're just going to play this game and enjoy it. And I think I'll be able to beat this whole game on easy. I'm not going to promise that I'd go back and play it on extremely difficult to get that one achievement on Steam. And since Steam only highlights if you get all the achievements, I'm thus not going to be very interested in getting all of the achievements. It looks like the gold you collect at the very least is used to unlock images in the extras menu in the main menu. That may be really the only thing that the game actually uses the gold for, and I imagine the original DuckTales game, the gold was just your score, and you just were going for the highest score. Maybe you get slightly different endings at the end of the game based on how much gold you collect. this pretty much wraps up as much as I know about DuckTales. They had, on top of DuckTales, another series where it was ducks flying around in a seaplane, and I think that was called Tailspin. And I'm not sure if Tailspin was a spin-off or in the same universe as the DuckTales series. But yeah, I didn't watch all the cartoon, but I do have happy memories, nostalgic memories of the few cartoons I did see. Part of the problem, I think, was DuckTales was on Disney back in a time when the Disney Channel was a premium channel like HBO, so considerably fewer people had it. But yeah, it would be very, very hard to sit a new kid who knows nothing about DuckTales in front of a game like this and make them want to play it, because it doesn't really look like something like Fortnite, and it doesn't play or have as many gameplay mechanics like Fortnite, and it doesn't have any characters that anybody would care about. There's really a lack of what they call evergreen-ness to this game. Evergreen being a general concept, meaning that it's relevant at any point. Like, evergreen trees are always green. They don't lose their leaves in the fall. Yeah, this is kind of the opposite of that. You would have to have major nostalgia for the cartoon, either the new cartoon, which you'd still probably be a 14 or 15 year old if you watched the new cartoon. That's, I guess. And I imagine not too many kids watched that new cartoon. Otherwise, there would have been a new game instead of a remaster of the old game. So then this is a game for people who are nostalgic for the old cartoon, or the comic books, who would be really, really old. So it's in a weird position. But I do recall this game was very well received, and I think fairly so. Because it looks like it is remastered in the right way, instead of something like Shovel Knight, which is a brand new game that decided to act like a very old game, and thus just reintroduced mistakes that have long since been corrected. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.